Welcome to Start Lines and Swag Bags. The airing of this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to replace advice from professional medical or training staff. Thank you for listening and your support of the Flying Pig Project.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Start Lines and Swag Bags. We're back on the couch today, so let's bring in my guest. My guest today is Chris. Come on over, have a seat.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. Here, would you like a support pillow?
Sure. All right.
And we both have our support pillows, and we are ready to go.
All right.
So, the first thing, tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Chris. I guess I'm the Haunted Runner on Instagram, and I've been running inconsistently for about 11, 12 years. And I appreciate you thinking I'm interesting enough to be here.
First of all, I love the inconsistency.
Yes.
Because of the recordings I've done so far, those are the words that keep popping up.
Oh.
And I think not everybody realizes that everybody does that. And we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, we look at certain people and we're like, oh my God, they're on them. No.
I think we're inclined to talk about the good times and not I didn't feel like running for 6 months. Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
All right. Very important question. How do you know me?
Right. So it was about 5 years ago, and I wanted tacos, and I looked up a taco place because the one I wanted to go to shut down, and there was one next to something called Extra Mile. And I'm like, I don't know what Extra Mile is. So I was like, okay, I'm going to order food, and then I'm going to go to Extra Mile, see what this is all about, and then not feel pressured to buy shoes because I have to get my food right away. And you were working, and your attitude was exactly what I was hoping to find. You knew your stuff, and you weren't pushy, and you weren't condescending. I've encountered that at some stores. So you were great. And I didn't feel pressure to buy shoes, so, but I bought some Noon, and yeah.
Okay, so you were probably wondering why I have a whole bunch of facial expressions going on, and part of the reason for that is so you remember me from the old location.
Yep.
Now I apologize, I don't remember meeting you from the old location.
Yeah,
but
it was very brief. Yeah.
But as listeners will realize, if you heard my interview with Nicole met me while buying shoes for her mother at the old store.
Okay.
And I didn't remember that either. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Start Lines and Swag Bags, and I will tell you how this came to be. I'd like to share that. I lost my race roster. You know, you keep a personal record of every race you've ever done.
Yeah.
And it was a digital file, and something happened, and I lost the whole file. So I had to rebuild it.
Okay.
And by rebuilding it, I started with Athlinks and every other service online. Mm-hmm. And then I took out the tubs and tubs of t-shirts, of medals, of bibs, of all the tchotchkes. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I miss all that stuff so bad. I love the swag. I like all that stuff. Swag is a medal. Swag is a shirt. Swag is someone giving you something at the end of a race. Mm-hmm. But what's your either favorite or least favorite piece of swag you've ever gotten? And you can do either or both.
Okay. So, I've done a few Run Disney races, and I think my favorite is this. It's very subtle. And if you don't know Star Wars, you'd probably look at it and say, what is this? What's the big deal? Well, this was a Star Wars half marathon medal, and this is a replica of the medal that Han and Luke get at the end of A New Hope. So it's one of these, it's not really that flashy of a medal, but it's actually really, it's a cool nod to the movies, and it's cooler than, here's a lightsaber or something like that.
That's a really, I love that. I tell you, Race Disney, and it's got that Velcro on there, Race Disney does... Their medals are on point.
Yeah. Well, when you're paying those prices, they better be.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a least.
Yeah,
I think I knew his least.
So
Before I even,
it's
I know.
not the color, but if you look there, it's hard to see. But there's a seam
I can't see it.
at chest level, and when you wear it, I don't. It's like they printed crop tops and then said, "Oh crap, we need to add more fabric."
That is an odd. Hold that up again. That is the Chicago Marathon shirt. And when we talk about T-shirts, that's a very bad scene. When we talk about T-shirts from races, that's like, it's so individualistic because they're for everybody who doesn't like that style. Somebody else loves that style.
Yeah,
but that no.
is
that a unisex or is that?
that's the men's.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if the women's had the seam,
I'd be interested.
but yeah.
That's bad. That's just bad placement.
And it's funny, just out and about running, I see people wearing Chicago Marathon shirts from every year, but I almost never see people wearing this one. So I think
And
people kind of know.
wasn't there also something about that shirt that when did Chicago become known for an aquamarine light blue color?
Right?
The-
So I ran Berlin last year too, and it was the same color.
that was the bad shirt.
I'm wondering if did they coordinate? I don't know what the other world majors were.
Nike made too many bad colored shirts.
Yeah. What? No, Berlin was Adidas, I think. It was a different brand, but same color. Yeah.
All right. I mean, so yeah, like literally swag. Swag is, great medals, bad shirts.
Yeah.
Those are excellent examples. All right. So we're switching from swag and we're going to advice, which is an interesting shift. But again, best or worst or both.
So let's start worst. Well, there's been a big thing on running threads where people are like, you don't need to bring water. I ran half marathons without water. I ran half marathons without fuel. It's like, you can, but that doesn't mean you should. And, I'm going to give you TMI. It was really humid and hot a couple weeks ago. And just by chance, I got up early and I weighed myself. And then I ran. It was like 8 miles.
Yeah.
It was really hot. And over the course of the run, I drank 96 ounces of water. And at the end of the run, I weighed myself again after drinking 96 ounces, and I lost 7 pounds.
How? Wow.
So that means I lost 11 pounds on that race. So should I have run that run without water? No.
So two things. So for those of you who aren't local in the Midwest in Chicago, where we are, the summer here has been very brutal. It's been very hot, very humid.
It's been really humid. Even today. Today isn't that hot. It is humid.
The humidity we have fought very hard. And I think a lot of people associate water, some hydration sometimes with more with heat than with humidity. But of course you need it for both.
Yeah.
And someone somewhere is going to listen to that person who said, oh no, you don't need to bring this with. And we're going to find them on the side of the road.
Yeah. And, I actually used to be stubborn. I used to say, I don't need water. I don't need, and guess what? I don't feel like crap all the time now. Funny how that works.
So 100% the same.
Yeah.
I always said, oh, if I'm running up to this amount of mileage, I don't need anything. And then recently I've transitioned to biking since I'm the injury, I can't run, or now I just don't want to run. And a couple weeks back, I did a 25 miler on the bike. I was on the bike for 3.5 hours with one bottle of water, no fuel. I stopped at a Starbucks and they refilled my water. I felt like crap for 4 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fueling.
I'm training for the Chicago Marathon again, and I think it's going a lot better. And I think the fact that I've let go and I'm going to take a goo on even my mid-pace runs, and I'm going to bring water, and that not listening to that garbage advice has helped me tremendously.
running theme. Doesn't matter what somebody else says. Yeah. Okay, best advice.
Best advice. Slow down. I tell everybody to slow down and people don't listen. And people get injured and people deal with cramps and people deal with all these things. It's like, you have to slow down. People are so stubborn about that. And I think I used to be, but not what I see other people.
So we can, and we're going to be on that topic for quite a little bit here, because those of us who understand, you have to run slow to run fast.
Yep.
I follow him on Strava, and so I see what he's running, and any given day, Chris is running, lots of miles because he's marathon training, and I see, one day, oops, you did a pace the other day of sub 9 for, 10 miles or whatever. And then other days the pace is like 12 or 13. And then all of a sudden he goes and does 4 on the 4th. And what did you race that? You raced that.
I don't know, 34, something like that.
So what was that pace?
It was that was a brutal day. It was over 8 minutes, but close to 8.
So close to 8, which is definitely not what you train at.
No.
And you recently did a mile time trial, and that came in at sub 7, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to get that kind of speed, you need to run slow. It is really as simple as that.
So I'm doing the Hanson's marathon method with my training, and they recommend your recovery pace. If you're shooting for like a 4-hour marathon, your recovery pace should be in the 11s. 11:15, 11:30.
So back up for me though. So if you're running a 4-hour marathon, what is your average pace?
8 something.
Really?
Yeah.
So recovery should be that's 2.5 minutes slower.
Over 2 minutes slower.
I think so. Sometimes I think what happens is, and I know I've talked to people about this. We have some very fast people in the group that we belong to. Yeah. And when they go for like a recovery run, we see them throwing down like 7:15, 7:30 mile pace.
Yeah.
And a lot of us who are on the other side of that, that's still very fast for us. But we forget that their race pace is like a 5:15.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You see the easy runs and it's like 7 something. It's like, screw you. But yeah, then you see, but it's like, okay, wow, who can run? That's not easy for anyone. And then you look and it's like, oh, no, it really is easy for them. Yeah, but you just have to, compare.
You can't compare.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it does bother me when I see people who are currently training for the marathon, and I know approximately what their marathon pace is going to be because, we know the runners. We run with them, we train with them, and their long runs are really close to what their marathon times are supposed to be. And again, it's all individualistic. It's what works for you as a person. But to me, I'm like, you could slow down a little bit.
Yeah, and I get it. I get why you don't want to, but
I think that's one of the hardest lessons to learn.
Yeah.
And I think you only learn it the hard way.
I agree.
Either you're open to advice and you're open to someone who's been through it, and that's not easy to do either. Like just listen to somebody else. It's only when you don't do it and you get hurt and then you realize, oh, there's something to...
Yeah. During COVID, I worked with an online run coach who really accomplished, 1 half marathons. And in one of my check-ins with her, I said, am I running my easy runs too slow? And she said, I've worked with over 100 clients. You're the first person who I haven't had to tell, slow down. You're very honest with yourself. I think that positive reinforcement has helped me keep it.
It's true. And the other piece of it is people who run like let's just use a 10-minute pace. We'll say 10-minute pace. that means that your slow recovery runs really should be at like an 11:30, 12. And I have had people say to me, well, for me to accomplish that, I need to walk a little bit. So walk.
So
Here,
so what?
walk.
Mhm.
I know there's a ton of people who are going to listen to that right now and probably just turn this podcast off because God forbid we should say you can walk. But absolutely, whatever you need to do to bring your heart rate down in those recovery runs so you're not at 70, 80% max heart rate. You don't want that.
People sometimes will ask, when do you walk? A friend of mine is starting a run. He's like, well, do you ever walk? I'm like, I walk on almost every run. I at least one break. Especially we're in the Midwest. It's not hilly, but it's hilly for us at the top of our hills. I might walk for 10 seconds.
And there's no, that's what I should put on a shirt. There's no shame in walking.
Yeah.
None at all.
It's the whole Jeff Galloway thing, right? I mean, this guy won marathon with walk breaks. And in fact, going back to Run Disney, I did the marathon and I qualified for Corral B, and there was a pace group. I don't know, they were like 3:30, and I just happened to start with them, even though I knew I wasn't going to be 3:30. And they're finishing the marathon in 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And they were taking walk breaks, I think maybe 9-minute run, 1 minute walk.
That's a common one.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who do a 9-1.
So from the get-go, 9 minutes into their 3.5 hour marathon, they're taking a walk break. And they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that's going to be something that's going to come up with a lot of people, and no one will ever change my mind. There is no shame in walking because you do you.
Yep.
Actually, you do you, boo-boo, but you do you. All right. Favorite race distance?
Probably the half. But it's, I don't race a lot.
So far, that has been the overwhelming answer.
Because you park, you get to the race, and you're done, and you're back in your car in 3 hours, hopefully. It's not an all-day thing.
That's true.
But it's a distance you can kind of wing. You can adjust. You can go out a little too fast and not really pay for it at the end. And it's also when you can, if things are going well, you can push it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree. We talk about like the training that goes into like a half marathon versus a marathon. And if you're a fairly consistent runner, not that you're racing, but you're fairly consistent, and maybe every other week or every third week, you're throwing out something that's like 10 miles and, you're doing that variation, you could pretty much hop into a half.
Yeah.
I'm not talking you're going to PR it. I'm not talking you're going to, win an age group or you're not going to win, but you could hop into it and have a good race.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And be able to say that you did a half marathon this past weekend.
Yeah. It's you can kind of fake a half. And if it doesn't go well, fine. It's still not 7 hours out of your life like a marathon.
And a week of recovery.
Yeah. 5Ks are just painful to me, and I'm not used to that pain. And there's something about the 10K. I haven't done too many 10Ks. I just don't enjoy it.
What about a 10 miler?
I've never done a 10 miler. I've done a 15K.
That's, do the math for me. Was that just short of 10?
That's 9.3. So yeah.
Okay. See, I got runner's math.
Yeah.
All right. 5Ks, it's interesting. I think people prefer the half marathon because it is not an all-out painful effort.
Yeah.
Because the 5K really is, you're all in it.
Yeah.
You're in it from your first step to your last step across the finish line.
Yeah.
But
even though it's only 25, 30 minutes or whatever, 35, it's still, you're still, you don't need to push it, but if you're going for a time, you can be uncomfortable the whole time.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Your most famous, I put it as famous runner but I have expanded that a little bit. Like, who you could meet anybody, and time travel is now allowed. That's been added.
Oh, okay.
So if it's a time travel issue, you can hop in Bill and Ted's phone booth and transport to wherever you want to be.
Yep.
So who would you want to meet?
Okay. So the very first marathon, I don't remember. I don't know his name, but he ran to tell the people we won the battle. And I would tell him, slow down! Because you won't die. You're pushing yourself too hard.
I should know this because I've seen like Spirit of the Marathon like a billion times.
Marathon who's...
Oh my gosh.
That guy needed to slow down.
It was like Apocalypse. I mean, some Greek name.
Yeah, his heart wouldn't have given... If I knew it was time travel, I would have looked this up. But yeah. You didn't need to run that fast. You could have slowed down.
And you know how that's how the 0.2 got added as well.
Oh.
Because originally it was 26. They had laid out a course. You can all fact check me. That's fine. It was 26 miles, but they wanted him to run to, it was like the kingdom or to a certain place,
City
to the queen or somewhere. And that added an additional 0.2 miles to the race.
That's how they get you.
So that's how it became 26.2.
Ah, well, yeah.
Because he had to go run somewhere very specific. And someone couldn't have just cut 0.2 off the start of the race.
Probably didn't hydrate. He probably didn't stop to fuel with grapes or olives. And if he did, but like, you know, I've never watched. I can't imagine watching people run. People watch people run on TV. I can't imagine that. What are you doing?
Watching on TV?
Yeah.
That's
look at this guy running.
I have to admit to me that's kind of like golf.
Yeah, it's like or bowling. Imagine watching someone bowling on TV.
No, see, I was a bowler, so I like bowling.
Okay, all right.
And I am so this year, and this episode is going to air after this happens, but I am going to be at the aid station that we have going this year.
Okay.
At mile 20, because I have never actually seen the Chicago Marathon in person.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, in person, yeah. But
Well, no, but
watching on TV.
like I've never seen a
professional.
I've never. Well, I guess I have. That's not true because I volunteered at the Wisconsin Marathon. But other than that, it's a world major. So I'm very excited about being at the aid station to watch it because I am overwhelmed that I get to see all the elites.
Yes.
Run past me.
No, that'll be exciting.
I am super excited for that. And it is weird that this is going to air after that because I'll fill y'all in how it went. But I can't wait for that. And I'll be sure if you could just wear that yellow singlet, which you're not going to wear. But, you know, I'm like, we'll see. We'll see. I know. I'm going to be trying to find everybody I know that's running. And most everybody I know is going to be in yellow singlets, but Chris tends to run in a black shirt, which means
it has the Danzig skull on it. It's my lucky shirt. I don't think I've run a single race without it. And I say every time it's going to be my last marathon, so I can't not wear it. Even though I'm signed up for one. No, I'm not really. But
all right. But speaking of last marathon, then the last question.
Yeah.
Is and this is a hard question for some people. This is really easy. For some people, this is a challenge. Think about every race you've ever done. What's the favorite?
You know, probably Chicago last year. I've run Chicago 4 times, and it's a great race. But last year I felt very prepared. I wasn't really shooting for a time because I ran a marathon 2 weeks before.
Didn't you run Berlin before? Yeah.
Berlin's funny because people talk about the crowd support in Berlin is great. Well, I mean, I finished in 5 hours, so I wasn't at the front. But the crowd support was a lot of people with their arms crossed looking at you. And it's, you know, there are points where I'm like, can you just clap?
I can't.
Can you clap? Can you raise your hand so I can high five you? No, they're just, I mean, like, come on, dude. Okay. You know, they're like, I'm very disappointed. It was the crowd support was a bunch of Germans who were standing there like, I'm very disappointed in you. You're running at 11-minute pace. What is wrong with you? Okay, American, hurry up.
I can't even imagine running past a group of people and having them look at me with such like indignation.
Yeah.
That
it was a lot. It was a lot of that.
Wow.
Maybe I was just
Berlin do
tired.
better.
I was sleep deprived and feeling down about myself. But yeah, so you don't get that in Chicago.
That's interesting.
Chicago, there's a lot of high fives. There's Elvis. There's the Boys Town.
Probably more than one else.
Chinatown is awesome.
So, fun fact. First, I love that Chicago's your favorite. Because fun fact, so we signed up, or we have a Extra Mile has Stop 16, which is mile 20. 15 of us, and originally our captain said, okay, I need 15 people to captain the station.
Okay.
So we got our 15 people. Mm-hmm. We then find out that in addition to the 15 people at one stop, every stop also has an additional 188 people working that one individual station.
So I remember approaching that spot and not seeing anybody that I knew until the very end, and I saw maybe 2 or 3 people. It was a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
it's huge.
All right. So to wrap things up, thank you, of course, for being on this podcast.
Yeah,
but
thank you for having me.
This podcast is called Starlines and Swagbacks. So, of course, how can I send any of my people away without the swag bag from Starlines and Swagbacks? Now, there's very special things in here, but we don't talk about them on the air because you have to be on the show to get the goods. So there you go.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
I, again, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Feel free to, if you ever want to come on back on and talk about your next marathon or anything else.
I appreciate that.
Come on to the show.
All right. Thank you.
All right. For everybody else, I will see you next time. Peace out from the Flying Pig Project.
Cool.